Whew. Okay. Hi, it's me. I'm back. Hi. Thank you so much for watching or listening to the Utajo Hujui podcast. I really appreciate you giving me your time of day. Hi, sweetheart. You want to get at the video? That's my cat. Say hi, Garfield. That's it. Say hi. Hi, Bud Bud. Oh, you want to be in the podcast? Of course he does. It's a great podcast. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the Robert Ouko episode. I'm genuinely really appreciate it. In this part one, we're just going to cover his early life, his career in government, and then we're going to talk about the murder itself before part two that actually discusses the conspiracy theories and everything that's going on there. Let me not lie to you, researching this one took it out of me, took a lot of strength that I did not have. But it's okay. We're done for now. And yes, sweetheart, I know. Your friend has gone. See you go. Yes, you can go. See, you want to say hi to the people? Say hi to the people. Hi. Anyway, bye. Hi, and welcome back to the Utajua Hujui podcast. Now, a quick word before we get in. Your girl, Aileen, has a little bit of a potty mouth, which means she does not mind her language and she speaks the fluent French. Which is all to say that I understand that some people are a little bit uncomfortable with this language, so here's just a warning for you. If, however, you are not uncomfortable and you would like to learn about the world around you and capitalism and colonialism and just like all this fun shit with a dazzling, brilliant, and funny host, if I do say so myself. Keep listening.
Call to order. Court is in session.
You bastard. Hi. Oh.
Sitting on the right.
Could you just finish?
The Right Honorable. Is that what they're called?
I think
Barrister
so. Right?
of whatever nonsense.
Advocate.
Right Advocate.
Right
Miss
Advocate.
Ouko or Aileen. Mm-hmm. And on her left, her hero, the world's hero, the undisputed favorite co-host of the world, in the undisputed best African history, colonialism, blah, blah, blah podcast, Kariithi, Ngare, a.k.a. GK, a.k.a. Greatness.
A.K.A. also known as
I watched it on a movie. Okay. And I was like, I'm gonna have to do it one day. A.K.A. also known as.
Okay, wait. Just give me 1 minute. Sorry, Emma back. There were like a lot of ants everywhere, and I was reliving some trauma. But it's okay.
Ants.
We're good.
There are no ants here.
There are so many ants. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Have you ever woken up to like an ant just like on your face and
What's wrong with that?
No, you were peacefully. It feels like you were taken advantage of.
Ants are the most useless animals. They don't hurt anybody. I mean, they're useful to the ecosystem. They're useful to your whatever. I saw your eyes. They're just harmless. That's what I meant. They're completely harmless.
See, wasn't the whole point of Ant-Man showing you that like ants are powerful, and what makes them powerful is their ability to cooperate.
So can an ant supersize itself to then now destroy you?
It's not supersizing. It's the fact that they're all just. You can't see all of them, and where there is one, there are bound to be more.
There are thousands.
Exactly.
Not even thousands, millions.
Isn't the ratio of like one human to like a billion ants or something? For every human, there's like a billion ants.
Something like that, and the world has survived.
For now.
And I can assure you, if you Google it, how many people have been killed by ants?
I mean, I would.
How many people have gotten poisoned by ants?
Okay, let's see.
You can eat an ant, and it's fine.
Many people have been killed by ants. 30 people die from ant bites each year in the US. An ant is more likely to kill you than a shark, to put it into perspective. And yet we're all afraid of sharks.
That's the most nonsense fact I've ever seen in my life. Nonsense.
Actually, speaking of facts, today, instead of like having you air out whatever issues that are going on with your life, whatever's in your heart, I thought we'd play a little game of true and false. I'm going to read out a fact, and then you have to tell me if you think it's true or not.
I'm gonna kill this.
Okay. All right. Thyme, the spice, is technically a tree. True or false?
Thyme.
Yes.
Thyme, not
Fine.
thyme.
Thyme is technically a tree. True or false?
True.
It's false.
It looks like a tree.
Okay, that's Aileen 1, greatness 0. Fact number 2. Did you know that if you knock your tooth out and put it back in the socket, it can grow back and you can save the tooth? True or false?
False.
It's true. It's true. So apparently,
Why doesn't anyone do that?
So I don't think many people know this. Apparently, when you knock a tooth out, like the damaged nerves and blood vessels can't be saved, but the bone and the tissues that cover the root can be reattached. So you can kind of just like save the tooth. If you rush to the dentist, they can just plop it back into the hole and like just let it live there.
Why don't we do that more often?
I think it's because it's like a dead tooth. Like there are no nerves, there are no blood vessels. It's just dead, but it's there. So there's no point.
That's nasty. Okay.
Okay. Komodo dragons can reproduce asexually. That is, like they don't like a mommy Komodo and a daddy Komodo don't need to come together
False.
to make. It's true. It's actually true. So in 2020, Charlie, a female Komodo dragon at the Chattanooga Zoo in Tennessee, gave birth to 3 hatchlings without a male partner.
I'm sure she had some like years
No,
before.
so apparently
Some leftover sperm was just sneaking up there, you know.
So it's a process called parthenogenesis, and it happens when another egg fertilizes an egg instead of it being a sperm. I don't know how it works. I'm not an animal biologist.
I'm
just know
telling
it's
you
possible.
right now, you've made the feminists in the world be like, what?
I think-
We don't need men.
So I think just because it works for the Komodo dragon doesn't mean it works for us.
I'm sure there's some scientists who are trying to figure it out, though.
I do know there are scientists who are trying to create artificial wombs.
That's a thing, and I'm in support of that actually, a little bit, because
Shocked.
not because of.
Because pregnancy is an inherently dangerous.
No, I
thing.
don't care about that at all. In fact, I feel it's part of the journey.
Like-
I can say that because
You don't have to go through
I'm never gonna be pregnant. I don't care. But the issue is you have a large number of women who want to have their own children who have found out that the reason they can't is not because their ovaries are problematic. It's because their wombs can't hold a baby. They normally go into surrogacy, but there's all those problems with surrogacy. So if you can instead of using surrogates, you use a womb,
An
artificial womb. Yeah, A1, do it.
Okay.
It also helps because artificially you can also. There are guys many guys. In fact, I think the stats show that more men than women can't have kids, and sometimes there's surgery that can be done on the sperm that helps the ovary and the sperm, and just put it in the womb and you're good.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm for it.
I wasn't expecting that from you. I think we're a long ways away.
You can't judge me. You can't figure me out.
I guess I can't.
You cannot.
My bad. Moving on. Dinosaurs actually had big ears, but nobody knows because ears don't have bones. True or false?
How can you prove that? You just said nobody knows. So how can we say they had, but nobody knows? So I'm gonna say false because that question was wrong.
I mean, so from what my research I did, I don't know.
No
Right?
shit. You
Okay,
just
so
said nobody knows.
Listen. What inspired this particular fact was I think there was an episode of Friends where Ross was like showing people what he thought a dinosaur sounded like, and he went like,
No, don't never make that sound again.
and I was like, well, the dinosaur because certain things don't preserve well, like hair doesn't preserve well. So for all we know, dinosaurs could have been super furry. They could have had ears.
Here's
Yeah. So I mean, this was a bad fact. My bad. Good eye.
great eye.
Moving on. Water is not wet.
Or is water always wet?
That's not the fact. The fact is, water is not wet.
We must explore what it means to be wet. I mean, not in that way.
I mean, the mechanics are still the same. Like, liquid is still involved.
Sure, but what does wet mean? Does it mean stained with moisture? If it does mean stained with moisture, the moisture is the water. So the water can't be stained with itself. Water can't get wet. Final answer.
So true.
Final answer.
So true.
Final answer.
That's your final answer.
Final answer.
It's true.
Final
I
answer.
need you to say the word true.
I said final answer.
But you haven't said true.
Water cannot get wet. Final answer.
Okay, fine. Yeah, you're right. Wetness arises from the interaction between a liquid and a solid surface. Because water is liquid, it cannot itself be wet.
I am a genius.
It just makes things wet.
I am a genius.
Then finally, you can't see your shadow in a mirror because mirrors only reflect light and shadows are an absence of light. True or false? There are no shadows here. There's plenty of reflections, but there's no shadow here.
Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Yes, you cannot see your shadow in the... Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can't see your shadow in the dark.
In the mirror.
In the mirror.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. I mean, it's a mirror, not like, I don't know, a candle. Like, yeah, simple enough. We're good?
Sure.
We're good?
Sure.
Did you learn some new things today?
Yeah.
Before we learn more things today?
Aileen is a B word.
Wow.
A bright student.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what
I went to a
meant.
group of schools. Thank you very much.
Me, I didn't go to a group of schools. I didn't. I went to a Catholic school. Is that not law? It's true.
Okay.
You can't prove it.
It's not that. It's just the way you're choosing to characterize your school as simply a Catholic school.
I went to a Catholic school.
And not... No, because if I say it, then I'm going to expose your life for what it is, not the truth.
Expose it.
Okay, fine.
You have the facts.
Yes!
You don't know
okay,
me.
Look, you've characterized your school as a Catholic school, which is technically true, instead of one of the 4 IB schools in the country.
Did I go to IB in that school?
But it's still an IB school.
Yes, I'm a St. Mary's alumni. Then went to another school where I went and saw girls for the first time. And there. So maybe I am a group of schools.
You know what? I think I really took for granted the fact that like my school was mixed. Because I'm hearing your stories about having just seen like you were 16 before you saw a skirt.
Let me tell you guys how hard life was. So I was a student at St. Mary's School. St. Mary's has from class 1 to IB2. That's 12 or 13 years of schooling.
Yes.
12 or 13 years.
Yes.
Only 2 of those years, IB1 and IB2, have women.
Yes.
So in a ratio of, let's say, 700 students, 30 are women. Now, what was worse for me is in 3 of my 7 years in that school,
Okay.
I had relatives who were women in IB. Do you know one person? I'm not going to say his name, even though I remember his name. Starts with an L and ends with an I.
Isle.
It starts with an L, ends with an I. Put that together.
Lyle.
Correct. He called me for the 1.5 years my sister was in that school. He called me my sister's name. My sister's name is Wangeshi. So he used to look at me and be like, Wangeshi, what's up?
Why would you respond?
Because I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be in the inn. I wasn't in the inn.
Should I start calling you Wangeshi?
I swear I will shoot you. You will die.
Let this podcast be an evidence in the event that I die mysteriously. We already have one suspect who has professed his intention to kill me because I have called him or intend to call him Wangesh or Sashi.
If you say that, let me not lie to you. You will die, and I will be the one who did it, and they will still not catch me. Use my connection.
I mean, that's some strong OJ energy. Let me not lie to you.
I got dreads. You think I don't got connections to the Mongiki?
I also have dreads.
But I go to Shags every week. You think I don't have connections to the Mongiki? You think I don't? You think I'm just a softie? Anyways, what are we talking about today?
So before we even get there, today, like, you know what kind of podcast this is. Although, to be quite honest with y'all, it has not been this kind of podcast.
She hasn't had
for a
alcohol
while.
here for like
Since the last time, since the Kapanguria episode, which was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but that was like a KO. That's not counted.
It's counted. It's still alcohol.
You know what she used to drink in our work? She used to put in her tea mug. Look at me snitching on her.
I came with a special bottle. I was just.
Oh yes, you had the cold
drink.
drink, and then she put Hunters. What was your breakdown?
So in my bottle, it was like a sweet tea with like a shitload of whiskey in it, because that's the only way you could drink it.
And the whiskey she would buy
is
for her and her
choice.
She claims to be, oh, I'm so fancy.
No, I'm bougie.
But when she buys herself, when she's paying for herself, she is the cheapskate.
Yes.
And she put Hunter's Choice.
Yes.
800 bob a 750 ml bottle for whiskey lovers. Is that good?
The point is to get drunk, not to savor it. If I wanted to savor it, I'll go for a Glenfiddich or Glenlivet.
That is such a Kenyan ideology. Number one, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be killed by all whiskey lovers. You can never savor whiskey.
What? What
facts.
lies are these? Have you never had like a nice whiskey? Like, instead of it burning down, it kind of like caresses your throat on the way down.
Would you not just prefer to have something else?
No.
It's a fact.
No.
Anyone who drinks whiskey at first would have preferred to have drank something else.
But you could say the same thing about alcohol in general.
All hard liquor tastes like crap.
So does beer.
No, beer tastes fantastic.
Beer tastes like crap.
No, beer.
It tastes like shitty water.
It's the most quenchable thing I've ever seen in my life. Quenching. Thirst quenching.
And on that note,
shall we move?
What are we drinking today? Because we both have our mugs.
Yeah, for old time's sake.
Ah, wonderful. What's in your mug? What's in your cup?
I am drinking an excellent cup of coffee, 100% Arabica, single origin.
Where is it from?
It is from a farm called Karunguru Estate.
Oh, please tell me more.
I am drinking Karunguru Estate coffee, 100% Arabica. The trees are treated like babies. The red cherries are selected. The coffee bean is extracted and it is roasted to a medium perfection. That is what I am drinking today.
And I am drinking Kariithi.
She's drinking nothing.
Green tea,
useless.
Mint.
It can't be green if the packaging is papo. Anyways, let's move on.
Yes, we might as well, because we have a lot to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
You want to guess how many words I wrote?
Please let it be like
6,660.
Am I not a... Wait. Just before we go on, I'd just like to say this, just in case. She just said she wrote 666.
0.
666.
0.
Yeah, they always mask it with something.
Oh my god. You know what?
6,660.
I really thought
you couldn't have written 6,659.
Do you want me to add a word like J? There. Now it's 661.
Reduce a word so that it's 59.
No, you know what? I actually like the 666 thing, because like this entire episode, this entire topic is very conspiratorial.
All I'm gonna say is I am not surprised.
That what?
I am not surprised that it is Aileen who has this 666.
Oh, what are you trying to say? And also, what does that say about you? That you're hanging out with somebody who would so casually, coincidentally, write a script with 6,660 words on the dot.
Jesus went to the darkest places to save people. So, interacting with you is my darkness.
Yeah, but it's Jesus. Be careful. You're not Jesus. I could drag you down to hell.
I'm greatness.
And it's fun. I don't want.
As Jay-Z said, if Jesus playing LeBron, I'm paying Dwayne Wade. Same thing. Okay. So he's paying LeBron. I'm playing now. Dwayne Wade is. I'm paying Steph Curry. You know.
Okay, just because I don't want to show my ignorance here. Except I feel like I must. Steph Curry is the one. His wife is Aisha. Yes.
How do you know this guy via his wife? Anyways.
Because their love story is so cute. And also, he's the one that's alive. LeBron is the one that died.
What's wrong with you? LeBron is alive.
Who's the one that
Shindwe. 666 Shindwe.
No, but which one died?
Kobe.
Thank you, Gianna. Thank you. I was confused. Because didn't they all play for the Lakers at some point?
Steph Curry has never played for the Lakers.
Who does Steph Curry play for?
The Golden State... Okay, you know how I made you sit down and watch Lord of the Rings, even though you only watched 1.5 of these 3 movies?
Which is good. I did 50%.
I need to work on the other 50%.
Uh-huh.
You need to sit down with me and watch basketball
Actually,
and football.
so actually, I like basketball. When I was an educator, I had a lot of fun watching basketball.
Yet you didn't know that LeBron is alive.
I know he's doing some school things, and like he's a billionaire now, maybe.
It's so funny interacting with women to realize that all they know about sports people is their non-sport related
Not
issues.
women, me, because I am a non-sport person. If you were to
So
go,
you're
if
like-
you were to go talk to Annalise or Bridget, they would be better suited for
And,
this
and
conversation.
Annalise, yes. MMA, yes. Nothing else.
Bridget, football, she's getting better.
Bridget, listen to me carefully.
God, I'm going to cut this out and send it to her. Let me make a note of this.
Listen to me carefully, Bridget.
Let me make a note.
You are not a good football fan.
Oh, that's rude.
Until
You are not a
prove
good
to me,
football fan.
Until you prove to
That
me
is some
personally.
gatekeeping bullshit.
You can't be in the game 6 months and say that you're in the game.
But that's how you start. You
So she's
support
the starter.
her. Yeah,
She's
you
a
support
beginner.
her by being like, yeah, great job.
Amateur.
Like, go to this, check out this resource.
When have you seen sports people do that?
You should. Have you ever considered the part of the reason why like it's difficult for a non-sport person like me to enter any sport
Why is sport?
fandom is because of people like you.
Why do people watch sport?
To be honest, I started watching sports because of the cute guy with
You
tiny
get out
shorts.
of here, you're not welcome. People watch sports for 2 reasons. Number 1, the warrior nature of sports, the camaraderie of it. Number 2, the banter of sports. They have a huge generation of individuals who basically, we suck at social situations. Put in sports, there is something to talk about.
Okay.
And the funnest thing about talking about things with Africans in particular is making fun of them. You have to make fun of them. So we're making fun of these sports people who don't know sports until they know sports. And then we'll make fun of their club. Now, she says she supports my club.
Arsenal.
So I can't, correct. So I can't attack her for the support, for choosing the right club. But I can call her an amateur. Welcome to the police academy.
Since we are all amateurs here, let us begin.
Please.
So now let me tell you, like this episode in particular exhausted me. It exhausted me. Like I gave myself intellectual blue balls trying to figure out who killed this man.
Which man?
Robert Ouko. Because
Robert.
any time I came close, I found evidence that was like, nope, discount this theory, discount this theory, discount this theory. So all we know at the end of this is that he died. We don't know why. We don't know like the specifics of how. We just know he died.
This one.
It was super annoying.
This one. And maybe the Mboya case.
and
are the
Jane
only
Kariuki.
two. This one and the Mboya case are the
Really?
only 2 that I believe 100% were executed by the state.
But who in the state? Because the who matters.
The who matters.
The who matters, right?
We'll get to that point
Yeah,
as you talk
yeah.
about that part of his story.
So, like, before I begin, I also do want to note, like, there are some similarities between this one and J.M. Kariuki's assassination in 75. Broad strokes, both Ouko and Kariuki were incredibly popular government officials who were anti-corruption and heavily criticized the government of the day. Both men were found murdered in the middle of
Did he
nowhere.
criticize the government of the day? He
Ouko,
worked for the government
He did,
of
but
the
he was
day.
also like hypercritical about the level of corruption. Like he knew who to criticize about corruption and who not to touch, because he's also politically astute.
He never touched
Yeah,
the big man.
but he also knew that as foreign affairs minister, you don't go talking shit about your country abroad. You don't air your dirty laundry. So you defend it abroad, but at home you're saying your own things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both men, Kariuki and Ouko, were both last seen around or with high-ranking government officials before their deaths. And after their deaths, the government interfered in both of the investigations into how and why they died. And also after their deaths, the country also imploded both times.
Let me ask you, does a name called, is it Troon? Is it,
Yes,
does he have to do with this case? Okay, so.
True, the white guy.
There's always a white guy.
So yeah, what do you know about the murder? Who did it? Who was involved? What do you remember?
What do I remember? I remember that, I actually remember a tidbit. He goes to his home in the night. There's a guy, he disappears into the forest. They're not sure how, or into an area. He's killed and burnt. He's found by, I think, a herdsboy or somebody. There were many suspects. The week before, I think he had been in America, and he had said some things about certain of those suspects. And someone had to run away from the country. Their whole political career got completely ruined. And they maybe did it. It's like, there's this documentary series, I think, that used to be released. I think it was by Citizen.
The 6-part series, which is actually pretty good.
It is really
Pretty
interesting.
good, yeah.
Breaking down the murder, the situation around it, and it actually interviews some of the suspects, the ones who are alive. The others,
Like Biwott, I think, was interviewed.
I think Biwott, another guy, and then there was, of course, Hezekiah Oyugi.
I think he had died in
I think
the 90s.
by then he had died. And Hezekiah Oyugi was a man of extreme power.
Yes.
Extreme power. He was one of those people, as well as Ouko, but maybe in a different way, who, in a very dominant Kalenjin, a dominant political system, he made a space for himself in terms of his loyalty to the president. So basically, Ouko, I didn't see him as that popular, but he was known as the father of foreign affairs in this country, like the greatest ever foreign affairs minister this country has ever seen.
Yeah.
That's roughly what I know.
Okay, good. So let's get into it. As you know that I like to give you like a brief overview of his life.
It's never brief, but okay.
It's okay. Let me see how many pages this one is.
It's like 1,000 words.
No, okay, it is definitely 1,000 words.
You see?
But it's only like a page, maybe 2 pages max.
See what I mean?
But anyway, so Robert John Ouko was born on the 31st of March 1932. This makes him an Aries. Don't look at me like that. According to Cosmo, Aries are the babies of the zodiac. They are the first sign, and therefore they are the most raw with their needs, demands, and emotions. They are also warm, community-oriented, dedicated, passionate, and hella competitive.
What would Ouko think about you calling him an Aries?
But it's the truth. He was an Aries. Just like I'm a Cancer. I'm like a peak Cancer baby.
None of us. Anyways, continue.
No, I feel like you're pretty. Like you, I think you're Sagittarius. Like you have strong Sagittarius energy.
I don't know what that means.
You should. Like,
I'm not interested.
For no other reason than banter, just check astrology. It's fine.
I hate that thing. You're such an Aries.
You're such a Cancer.
Oh my God, you're such a Hipponemoria.
Let me tell you, like Scorpios are.
You see,
oh my God.
Scorpio is the one. What is those
And
things?
Tauruses, my God.
Never even heard of that one.
Oh, anyway, so Ouko was born in Nyahera in Kisumu to Erasto Sida and Susan Alu Sida. He went to primary school at Ogada Primary School in Kisumu and later Nyangori School in Kakamega. After graduating, he attended Siriba Teachers Training College and graduated with a teacher's certificate.
Yep.
This was, of course, in the colonial era where the only acceptable and accessible professions were teacher or government administrator.
Teacher, administrator, nurse.
That's
finished.
Those three.
Yep.
Rather interestingly, it seems that Ouko didn't get his O levels or his Cambridge school certificate until after he became a teacher. That's what I think it would. It means from my research. He earned these qualifications in the 1950s, and then he joined the Kenya Civil Service as a revenue officer, or basically a tax collector. And he was a tax collector for Kisii district. At the same time, Ouko pursued his degree in public administration, economics, and political science from Haile Selassie University in Ethiopia. Now it's called Addis Ababa University.
Oh, they removed his name. Wow.
I wonder why. I feel like it has something to do
probably
with his
because
legacy.
of how he was thrown out.
Yeah. As he studied, Ouko's career went from strength to strength. And he rose from a revenue officer to an assistant secretary in the office of the British governor by 1962. Now, independence was a real boon for this man. In 1963, he was appointed as the permanent secretary for the Minister of Works, which is fucking rare, because it meant that in about a year, Ouko went from being like an assistant secretary to a PS, skipping the ranks of like undersecretary, deputy secretary, and like all these things. He just jumped. And he was about to rise even further.
Yep.
While in the Ministry of Works, the Kenyatta administration kind of realized, we're not really maximizing this guy's strengths. So in 1969, Ouko graduated with a postgrad diploma in international relations and diplomacy from Makerere University, and he was appointed as a Minister for Finance and Administration for the East African Community. A year later, he was appointed the Minister for the Common Market and Economic Affairs, for the same community. And then in 1971, he received an honorary doctorate of laws by the Pacific Lutheran University in Seattle.
Oof, oof.
Unfortunately, in 1971, the EAC collapsed
Yep.
and Ouko was sent home. Once home, he was nominated to Parliament, and then he was appointed as Kenya's Minister for Economic Planning and Community Affairs. 6 years later, I didn't get that math right. 8 years later, Ouko was elected in Parliament for the Kisumu rural constituency in 1979. Now, as a politician, Ouko was an anti-corruption crusader.
Yep.
And this made him beloved by the people. In fact, in an anonymous written allegation sent to the Kenya police in December 1991 after his murder, entitled "Who Killed Dr. R.J. Ouko and Why?", the author described Ouko as follows, and I quote, "He was an honest, straightforward man whose character endeared him to all who came his way. His outward character spurred him to go to great lengths to help all who came to him. Dr. Ouko's commitment to work was unparalleled, sometimes bordering on obsession. As a seasoned planner, economist, and politician, he took the unemployment problem in Kenya in general and that of his Kisumu constituency, in particular so seriously that he lobbied aggressively and persuasively for the revival of development projects."
Wow. And there was a trial in 83, now when Moi was purging through his Kikuyus, getting rid of those powerful ones.
Yeah.
And, Ouko was the only cabinet minister to speak. And then in 84, he once warned MPs of, quote unquote, siasa za kumalizana.
The politics of?
Finishing each other, basically.
So, basically the man was a dedicated politician who actually seemed to have cared about his constituents as people and not like as a political base that he could exploit for his own shenanigans, which is rare, given that yesterday...
Not that rare.
Yesterday, I spent my evening watching the finance bill debate. The people who voted yes, oh my God.
We lost, yeah?
I was disappointed.
We're getting that finance bill.
It's a good thing for content creators because instead of it being
15, it's 5.
So they're doing it clause by clause. But also it's like the Ruto government has kind of forgotten that in order to increase taxes, you need public trust. You don't have public trust.
I was listening to... Actually, I was watching a funny video of a territory in Norway where their taxes is capped at 16%. And the reason it's capped at 16% is because Norway believes it cannot give you any services. So there's no healthcare, there's no retirement. You have to plan everything.
Norway, the socialist...
It's a territory of Norway.
Okay.
So it's like a very cold place that can't grow anything. So they import everything. So life is very expensive. So the way they did it is that they reduced taxes. And that's the point, that because they can't deliver as much services, they can't tax you as much.
Yeah.
In Kenya, they're offering to deliver you those services, but they never have given you those services. In NHIF had a blue point. They had a blue pill moment for like 2 years where people were actually getting services in, I think, the first administration of the Uhuru administration.
It was actually
But
working.
since then, nothing.
I mean, the pregnancy maternal care stuff,
That one is
that
excellent.
One is fantastic.
It's
actually
fantastic.
really good.
But
Everything else.
the issue that you're having is you have a country that needs to make more money. The economy needs to grow, yet you're telling them more and more tax. And all of you people who found small loopholes in avoiding taxes, bro, we're coming for you. I think there's a line between raising funds and people not having food to eat. There was an article, I think you shared it on your Instagram, where it's saying that people have now moved to 1 meal a day.
1 meal a day.
Have you guys used 1,000 bob recently?
I have. I thought I had to buy some ingredients for food, and I could only buy like 3. Before that, 1,000 bob would have allowed me to buy everything I needed.
What is
This
so
is
jazzy?
insane.
I used to go to, like when I was younger, 1,000 bob was the world.
Oh,
You go to the shop,
amazing.
you just buy everything.
1,000 bob, you're rich.
You have a huge basket. Now, if your basket has 5 things, you are lucky. Noodles, which is the cheap bachelor's food, has gone up in prices. Unga, another cheap bachelor's food, has gone up in prices. Vegetables have gone up in prices. Meat has gone up in prices. Bro, yogurt has gone up in price. Everything.
And it's
butter,
going to get
which is a
higher.
thing I could have eaten when I'd visit like rich people. They don't have butter anymore.
Do you know it's actually gone up higher?
What?
Like the cost of unga, sugar, flour, oil is about to increase.
You know, I told
because
everyone
of these taxes
in my house, because I have a roommate, we have agreed we're not buying sugar. It's just not gonna happen. 500 shillings for a 2 kg.
I know.
I'm sorry, sugar is not that important. So maybe you'll see me lose like 60 kgs and everyone around me lose weight.
It's not just, I think everyone might lose weight because you just can't afford to eat anymore.
You can eat,
yet,
just not good food.
And yet what I find really interesting is that like if you were to leave Nairobi, like to try to go out on like a Friday or a Saturday, all the clubs would be full.
Oh yeah, our priorities are not very well organized.
I mean, no, but it makes a lot of sense. Like when shit is hard, fuck it, drink. You need something to feel good about.
Soon we won't be able to afford our drink. Maybe we move into Changa. I'm joking. Ruto government. Don't kill me about that Changa guy.
Okay. So, 1979, that's where we were at.
Yes.
This is the first time that Ouko was appointed as the Minister for Foreign Affairs. And he would remain in this post until 1983, when he was given another docket, which is a Minister for Labour. As Minister for Labour, Ouko served as the chairman of the Governing Council of the International Labour Organization. And later, he was also recognized by like South Korea for like doing great things for, I think, like the non-aligned countries during the Cold War. By 1987, Ouko was serving as a Minister of Industry. Unfortunately, this is not where he should have been. By the late 1980s, Kenya's economy was in the shitter, and Moi needed a way to keep foreign capital and funds in Kenya. He needed to maintain the allies he'd won in the early days of his presidency, but also he needed someone who could defend his actions to them when they're abroad. So in 1988, Ouko was returned to the Foreign Affairs docket. Because like Ouko was considered one of the best foreign policy minds in the country, and the reason why he was reappointed was that like for the West he was a man who at least they saw him as like being very doggedly anti-corrupt. They saw him as being the kind of person they could talk to. Versus for the Moi administration, they knew that he would toe the party line. He would do what needed to be done to keep the money that needed to stay in Kenya. And as a result, by 1990, Ouko was considered to be, and I quote, a top diplomat and Moi's blue-eyed boy. I don't like the analogy,
Who quoted that?
I'm pretty sure I got it from like a weird, it might have been like WikiLeaks or like a document
blue-eyed
or something.
Boy.
Like, you know, like a blue-eyed boy. Like you know what they're trying to say, but it's just a bit disgusting.
He was just never a threat.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and he was one of those politicians, really are the politicians we miss of today, who was really more of a guy of administration and bureaucracy than he was politics. He liked working. Many of these guys were very functional. Nowadays, politicians who are now ministers in this new administration were less about that. Their work is not to be politicians. Politics is something on the side. So yeah, I liked Ouko. He was a nice guy.
It seems like he was like a really interesting blend between a technocrat and a politician.
Yes,
because it seems
he played
like,
the line well.
Yeah, because it seems like and you see what happens when there's a difference, right?
And I think he was only a politician so that he could be a technocrat.
Yeah. And you see what happens like when a government appoints technocrats, because I think in the early days or towards the end of at some point in the Uhuru regime, he was relying on technocrats.
Actually,
and not like politicians.
It's an interesting thing. The Constitution, as it is currently stated, was developed to make cabinet ministers more technocrats than they are politicians. It's just people found loopholes. So Uhuru's first cabinet, his second cabinet, there were a few politicians in there, but most of the people inside were technocrats. But then you just realize, all you have to do is resign from your post,
and then you can
become a technocrat.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, despite his competence and his usefulness, Ouko would still die in February 1990. In the days before his death, Ouko was seen with a briefcase, the contents of which we will discuss later on. On the 7th of February, he attempted to see Moi, but the plans fell through. And on the 9th, he was involved in a nearly fatal car accident, but escaped unscathed.
So see why I believe he was killed by the state.
Now, at this point, he was already a bit like anxious. Everyone around him, if you read the Troon and the Gisheru and the Gorsung Commission reports, it's very clear that like, they reported his mental state as being like quite tense, quite anxious. Something was weighing on him quite heavily.
Isn't it weird how every politician who dies you realize that before they started acting weird, like they knew they were gonna die.
Oh, it's about to get spookier.
But they warned.
It's about to get spookier because 2 days before his death, Ouko was asked to address his congregation at church.
Okay.
His words, almost prophetic in their delivery, seemed to allude to Ouko's knowledge of his impending death. At the very least, they allude to his troubled state of mind, because he read from Job 7, verses 1 to 14. And witnesses recall that as he was reading, he would, periodically stop, gather himself, wipe tears from his eyes.
Oh my
like he
God.
was really feeling this passage. And let me read it to you.
Read that passage.
Do not mortals have hard service on earth? Are not their days like those of hired laborers? Like a slave longing for the evening shadows, or a hired laborer waiting to be paid. So I have been allotted months of futility, and nights of misery have been assigned to me. When I lie down, I think how long before I get up. The night drags on, and I toss and turn until dawn. My body is clothed with worms and scabs. My skin is broken and festering. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle, and they come to an end without hope. Remember, O God, that my life is but a breath. My eyes will never see happiness again. The eye that now sees me will see me no longer. You will look for me, but I will be no more.
It's like the most depressing.
It gets worse.
Wow.
It gets worse. As the cloud vanishes and is gone, so one who goes down to the grave does not return.
Aye.
He will never come to his house again. His place will know him no more.
Oh.
Therefore, I will not keep silent. I will speak out in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul.
This man had been threatened.
Am I the sea or the monster of the deep that you put me under guard? When I think my bed will comfort me and my couch will ease my complaint, even then you frighten me with dreams and terrify me with visions, so that I prefer strangling and death rather than this body of mine.
Jeez.
Yeah, he knew. He
Yeah.
had to have known. He had to have known.
That is the most depressing thing. Someone came, I don't know if it was like someone from the NIS or someone from government came and told him, bro, there's an impending, what is it called?
Plot against you?
Plot against you, and you're not gonna survive. Or he was about to make a decision that he knew would get him killed.
Yeah, I think there was something going on in his head that he maybe was not sharing to the people around him.
I think so.
It's either that this is the verse that he chose because it spoke to him in a situation, or it was just a mere coincidence. Because sometimes you go to church and you're just told here read. You don't have a say over what you're told
It's
to
possible.
read, and this just happened to be what he was given.
So either the church was prophetic or he was prophetic.
Either way, God was speaking to him and was telling him, "My guy, you need to get out of here. You need to run or something." Anyway.
Continue.
So on the 12th, Ouko had 4 visitors over at 8 p.m. to watch the release of Nelson Mandela. By 10:30, his guests had left, and Ouko was just left with his staff. Around 3 and 6 a.m. on the 13th of February 1990, Ouko's maid Selina awoke to the sound of a door being shut. When she got up to investigate, she saw a white car at the bottom of his driveway. She then saw the car turn left and drive to the place where Ouko's body would later be found. At the time, she thought nothing of it, so she went back to bed. Some hours later, another person claims that in this white car was Hezekiah Oyugi, the PS for internal security, along with 3 other people.
That I don't believe.
However, when Oyugi was asked, like, hey, where were you at the 13th at this time? He was like, I don't know. And they were like, hey, fine, give us the records for your car. He's like, I lost them. So we don't know. Like, it could be hearsay. But then again, there's no proof to counteract. There's nothing to prove that it happened and nothing to prove that it didn't.
If you're looking to murder someone, why would you be there?
Because sometimes you want to see it get done.
Not as a politician. You need to be as far away.
You need to trust that it's going to get done.
No. Me, if I'm the politician, I'm not saying I would. But if, you always have to consider everything. If I would, number one, I am in Mombasa, in a conference, leading the conference.
Everyone is seeing me.
Everyone is seeing me.
Like, there were no phone calls between you and the murderers.
Nope.
Nothing at
in
all.
fact,
no
I'm
bank transactions.
I'm out that whole night with guys drinking drinks, chilling, and I get one call from my PA who's got another call from some other random guy who's got another call from that guy who now tells me it's done. That's all. That, as in, I am not being found dead So
near that
the
body.
phone just looks like I talked to my PA. That's all.
So, as we know, on the 13th of February, Ouko didn't return home. And he was then quickly reported missing by friends and family. On Thursday evening, on the February of 15th, 1990, the Voice of Kenya Radio and Television Services issued the following announcement, and I quote, "The family of the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. Robert Ouko, has reported that the minister left his Koru home last Tuesday in the morning and has not been seen since. Could Dr. Ouko please contact his family or the nearest police station? Any member of the public who might have any information as to the minister's whereabouts should report it to the nearest police station." The next day, Ouko's body was found, or rather was reported as found. We're going to get into it. It was reported as found. Upon the discovery, Moi issued the following statement to the country. And I quote, "It is with profound sorrow that I have to announce the death of the Honourable Robert Ouko, Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and Member of Parliament for Kisumu Town. On learning of the report of his disappearance, the government mounted an intensive search for Dr. Ouko using all the means at its disposal. Dr. Ouko's partly burnt body was discovered today 6 kilometers away from his Koru home in circumstances which at the moment suggest foul play. Further investigations are being conducted, but I would like to assure the public that anyone who may be associated with this horrible event will most certainly be apprehended and brought to justice."
Actually, you're right. It does sound a lot like the JM karaoke situation.
Spoiler alert, it's been 33 years. Nothing has happened.
This is why I told you when you guys asked me, what's the one thing you want to know? What's the one thing you would want as your wish? And I said, to learn all the secrets.
You just want to be given all the files and you just sit and told here. Read.
This is what happened.
The files remain here, but you can leave with the knowledge.
He killed Boya. He killed JM. He killed
And this is
Ouko.
why, and this is how.
This is why, this is how. And then I write my book, and then in my deathbed, it is released.
Now wait, but they'll come after your family.
No, there's an unwritten rule. You never go after the family.
Until you do.
No. Don't take away my dream. I've always had that one dream of, you know what? I'm never going to tell secrets when it comes to things, but I'm going to write a book. And then I'm going to instruct in my will that upon my death,
it is released.
That book is released.
I wish Jonjo had done that when he died. I wish he had done that. I wish he had said, "Fuck it, like let this country burn. I am dead. I don't care anymore." But I think there has to be a reason why he said, "No, I'm going. The secrets die with me."
Yeah, those people were honorable. I'm not honorable for shit.
Because I think Jonjo knew. I think Jonjo was very aware of who did all this shit.
Most of them knew.
Yeah.
I think most of them knew.
So we need to back up a bit and talk about his body. So Ouko's body was found by a 13-year-old herds boy named Paul Shikuku near Nyando River at the foot of the Gotalila Hills at around 1 p.m. on the 13th of February, the day he disappeared. Remember, it was officially reported
on the 14th.
On the 16th,
16th.
3 days later.
Okay.
Now what happened was that Ouko had Shikuku, the herds boy, had run to tell the village elders in the community that, hey, I found a dead body. I'm pretty sure this is Ouko. And the elders were like,
wait.
Yeah, we're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Because they're going to kill the messenger, and I don't want to get involved in this right now. We're not going to do this. So they kept it quiet until his body was later found by Police Constable Jerfitter Ndambiri, number 48774. And on the 16th of February, that was when the official report came in. When Shikuku found the body, he found Ouko's body burnt up from the chest down, from chest down, with his state-issued weapon, a can, a pen, spectacles, a walking stick, and a torch. Later forensic analysis would also reveal a single strand of Caucasian hair on his body.
That was a white person.
A single strand. It's a single strand, like that one strand of hair, which you know for a fact the Kenyan police did not bag and keep as separate evidence, because we could have.
Because I was going to ask you, could they at least have figured out if that was a male or female?
I don't think they bagged it. I think they were like, "Oops, sorry, went in the wind." Now, what they did, the murderers, what they did was they had taken the diesel, which was in the can, and poured it all over his chest, and then just set him afire, which is why his chest was particularly burned.
Why
but
diesel?
his diesel burns quick.
Diesel, though.
Diesel
You
burns
could find something else. Use acid.
Diesel burns
Use
quick.
petrol.
Diesel burns quick.
Petrol burns faster.
But apparently diesel is much better for like burning bodies. I don't know. I'm not going to get into the mechanics of how to dispose
It's
of.
very hard to light diesel.
But it also burns. When it burns, it burns. So I've been told.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, his body was found 3 days later. And it was identified by his brother Barak Mbaja and another guy called Professor Joseph Oliech.
Mm-hmm.
Soon after his body was found, the Kenya police investigation began, and it was led by Deputy Director of CID, Mr. Cleophas Okoko.
Mm-hmm.
And it began with a very bad, very, 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 very bad call. Upon discovering Oko's body, senior government officials and security service officials decided that Oko's body could be left at the scene until the post-mortem could be conducted the next day. Rather than having the guy, the pathologist, come in to do it on the 16th, they were like, you know what?
Let's do it 17th.
Let's just do it tomorrow. Like, the guy's not ready. Which is bad because, that allows the evidence to continue decomposing and makes it a lot harder to figure out what's going on. But if your job is to cover up what happened, then that's exactly what you would do.
Mm-hmm.
So on the 17th, the state pathologist, Dr. Jason Kariithi, was called in to figure out what the fuck had happened. He performed a cursory post-mortem at the scene and an actual autopsy in Nairobi. And what he found was that Ouko's leg had been broken and there was clear indications of bruising all over his body, like he'd been beaten up before dying. Initially, Dr. Kariithi concluded that fire had broken his leg, which is stupid.
Fire
does not break bones. It's fire.
Okay.
It was broken. Like literally just.
Yeah.
Fire doesn't do that. People do that.
Yeah.
Right? So sensing he was wrong, Dr. Kariithi course corrected, and he said, well, actually, the leg had been broken by an object, and Ouko had been killed with a single gunshot wound to the head at the scene of the crime. So where he was found was where he died. But he then, after going in the right direction, he then swerved and said that Ouko had killed himself. The gunshot was self-inflicted, and
he broke his own legs.
Yeah, his theory was that Ouko had set himself on fire and then shot himself in the head. And the question is, how?
Let me tell you. Number one, I light myself up on fire with diesel, and then I shoot myself in the head. And then somehow the diesel fire breaks my legs. Makes perfect sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Number one, normally you need something. If you're burning yourself, think of the guy who started the Arab Spring. You need like a tire or something that helps keep that heat.
Yeah.
To burn yourself is not an easy task.
The human body is not built for burning.
It's not easy to be. And then when you're in that immense pain, to then take your weapon,
and just
put it at your head and pull. No. Don't work.
No.
And then your legs just break. Anyways, yeah.
So when the public got wind of Kariithi's theory, people were like, yeah, sure. Still, government officials were like, yes, that's what happened. He killed himself. Case closed. We're done here. Specifically, Internal Security PS Hezekiah Oyugi and Police Chief Philip Kilonzo were both like, we have it. We have the man. Ouko killed himself. Case closed. And the government and everyone else was like, I'm sorry, do you think we trust you? Do you think you've been lying to us for years? Do you really think we're about to trust you right now on this? So the country naturally started to implode in bits and pieces. And sensing that things were going to get worse if the government didn't do something, Moy then invited New Scotland Yard to commandeer the Ouko investigation from the Kenyan police and the special branch. On the 19th of February, the invitation was sent, and 2 days later, on the 21st, Chief Inspector John Troon arrived in Kenya with only one job: find out who killed Ouko. He was met not by lead investigator Okoko, but with the DC for Nakuru of the area, John Anguka. Anguka apparently told Troon that the lead of the investigation was Oyugi, when it was not. Again, strike two in terms of trying to cover this shit up. So how do you think Troon did here? If he's already being met with some shenanigans when he landed, how do you think he's going to... Do you think he's going to uncover anything? Do you think he's actually going to be successful? Because, I don't know.
I think the hope they were having is that he would see what they're saying, the wink, and be like, oh, okay, wink. Cool, let's do it that way.
Yes. Yeah, no, he failed. In fact, I think towards the end of his stay in Kenya, like there'd been multiple attempts at his life and multiple death threats had been issued to him that he just packed up and left. He was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is too much. This is too much.
It's so clear it's foul play.
Very clear it's foul play.
So obvious.
So now before we get into like the theories, the people, the evidence, I need to make like a number of notes. The first one is sources. I'm going to rely on like a combination of Troon's conclusions, the Citizen documentary series, and the TJRC summary of events, correcting where I can. And this is because like if you were to rely on just one source material, you'll only get one version of events. Like I read Anguka's book after that, the one that he wrote after he was acquitted of the murder after his trial, and I realized that he had omitted like a lot of important information in order to make himself look innocent.
I'm going to tell you something.
So
Kenyan people who write their books are not 100% honest about the facts they write about. A few are, a few try, but most people, of course, when you're part of that moment in history, you don't want to say you are the suspect, or not even that you are the suspect, that they had a point to make you the suspect. So you add flowers.
But like he should have done this like a lawyer, which is you take all the evidence they have against you and you dismantle it systematically,
Maybe
piece
that would
by
have been
piece,
better.
as opposed to just pretending it doesn't exist. And we're going to get to the evidence against him later on. Now, my second point is about the structure of like the rest of the episode. So I'm going to focus on the murder itself. Like I'm not going to tell you about the drama about the commissions. I'm not going to tell you about like what's going on in the country because otherwise it's just too much. If I was making a video, it makes sense because then you'd have like all this visual stuff. But because this is an audio format, I kind of need to keep it streamlined. And we already spent 20 minutes of this episode, basically 40% of this episode on banter.
Do not blame me.
I'm not blaming you. I
saw your eyes.
I'm just saying.
It's your fault.
I'm just saying we spent 40 minutes of this episode on banter. So like.
Okay.
And I need to streamline this thing. But like all you need to know is that in the 90s, the economy was even worse than it was in the 80s. Everyone was abandoning Moi, and Moi kind of had to, do a pivot to get people back on his side, which is reinstate multi-party rule. In fact, my favorite description of the economy, and I'm going to borrow from John Oliver here, is that like the Kenyan economy was the equivalent of like seeing somebody puking, so you start puking, and then somebody else is puking, and then pretty soon everyone is puking. Which seems very familiar to like what's going on right now. Like you've ever been in a situation where like somebody's puking and then you see them puke and you're like, oh, and then like that starts a chain and then it's pretty soon everyone is throwing up and it's like
I've never understood that thing. Never understood why someone's puking should make me puke.
Because it's like a human, like their disgust triggers your own disgust. Because like because when we used to live together, if somebody was throwing up and you probably shared a meal together, then you might also get sick. So your body's going to be like, let me throw up. Let me just get this thing out of my system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah. So now our suspects. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so in one corner, we have John and Nguka. Right?
On the other corner.
Well, actually, yeah. Wait, no. I started too soon. So first things first, we have Ouko himself. Remember that was Kaviti's first theory.
Because he shot himself.
Yeah. Even though his fingerprints were not on the gun, and there was also no blood on the gun. Because if you're shooting yourself, you'd expect there to be some blood splatter on the gun
Were
itself.
they saying his service weapon is what killed him?
The 38 revolver that was found by his side.
So his service weapon was the one that killed him?
Yes. He apparently, I forgot to mention this, I'm going to mention it now, they also found ammunition in his pockets. Yeah.
So this is a man who, for at least one fact we can all agree, is this a man who knew where he was going, he needed to protect himself?
Yes.
And it is that exact weapon that killed him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, on one side...
we have Ouko himself.
On the other end...
we have Ouko himself. We have crime. Like, just Ouko is just a victim of crime in general. We have John Anguka. We then have Biwott, Oyugi, Moi. And then finally, we have Ouko's own family instead. Lovely note, because I'm pretty sure you heard somebody's phone ringing in the background.
Yeah, Aileen's. She's the one with non-Apple goods. I only have apples.
Yes, indeed. Me and my green bubble text thing. So yeah, I think that's a good enough place for us to stop with the introduction of the suspects. Each of these suspects, including Ouko himself, apparently had a reason to like kill Ouko, I suppose. But like in order of likeliness, starting with least likely to most likely, it goes Ouko, crime. his family, I'm going to say Oyugi, Bewat, and then Moi, in order of like likeliness. And those last three are interchangeable.
So in the next half of this episode, I'm going to say very quickly before we close, I disagree with that line. But
What?
it's okay.
What do you mean? What do you mean you disagree with that line? Do you just disagree? Okay, so what? Okay, what would you say then?
If we were to say it's almost exactly like JM's, I would say Ouko at the bottom, 100%.
Yes.
No. Crime at the bottom.
Then
Crime
Ouko.
Then Ouko. Because that crime thing is... I'm going to ask you very simply.
Yeah.
As a human being,
Yes.
even if you live in a farm,
Yes.
what tells you in your head
Yes.
that my time to walk around my farm
Yes.
is in the middle of the night?
If I
In
want-
the complete darkness. There's no street lights.
I don't know. Maybe for vibes.
No human being, none, would walk around their properties or walk anywhere in the complete dark of the
Or
night.
enter a strange car in the middle of the night.
Yeah, so crime is gone. He's not outside for random reasons. He's outside because he's meeting somebody. So crime, then his murder of himself. I would say then business, because you must always put business. And then I would say Anguka,
I forgot about Anguka, yeah.
Biwot, and Anguka. No, Moi, Anguka, Biwot, and Oyugi.
So the
So Biwot and Oyugi are my number one.
why not Moi? Okay, it's okay. I understand why Moi is lower for you, simply because like he's not that stupid.
Moi
Moi
would
is not that
never,
stupid.
I doubt Moi would ever come and openly say to the public, what made me rub him off is what you said. He came to the public and he said, it is with unfortunate, it's my unfortunate privilege, not privilege, but
Whatever, I
responsibility
have to tell you, yeah.
say that this man has been murdered, he's been burnt partially, and foul play is in play.
Yeah.
Normally, if a president or someone that high level has murdered somebody, you've already created the backstory.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell the public about the state he was found. You're not going to tell the public about the foul play of it. You're going to try and say he committed suicide. A gun was found to his brain with his hand on it, like that sort of
you
thing.
would have framed it differently.
You'd have framed
yeah.
it differently. So I think this is a man, just like Kenyatta with JM, who his people did it.
But he knew.
He had no knowledge. They did it without his express
But then
knowledge.
he found out after the fact, and he was
And he
like, "I need to
protected them.
protect my people
Or no, I need to protect myself.
by protecting my people."
Yes, if your people did it, you have to protect yourself because already there's pressure that the Americans are saying no deals, no loans. Few months later, Saba happens. As in, there's so much pressure on him. He needs to find a way to get the pressure off state.
Yeah.
So I don't think Moi did it, but we'll continue.
We
in the
will
next episode.
continue. Do you have anything you want to close on? I know we've spent a lot of the today like laying the foundation and the scenes and things. Yeah.
I think today I'm going to be weird. I'm going to bring in the humanity of this situation.
Okay.
Many times people, and I'm one of those people, are easy and quick to say that these are just the consequences of the state building. But Robert Ouko was killed very soon. Tom Boyer, J.M. Kariuki, all these people we've spoken of were killed for reasons that that have never carried value.
I mean, the only one that like still makes a lot of sense is Chief Warohio.
Chief Warohio.
Warohio, like that one I get. That one I get.
That one, yeah,
It's complex,
he
but
was
I
in the
get
middle
it.
of a time that was extremely difficult. But apart from that, these people had lives, they had all these things. We tend to forget and we tend to just see them as these parts of our history. But imagine that Ouko's family still exists today.
They do.
Tom Boyer's family still exists today. Jim Kariuki's as well, although I don't know much of them. So
Arwin Skodek.
Agwin Skodek as well, although I don't believe Agwin Skodek was...
You just think it was an accident.
Yes.
But surely if it was an accident, the state would have found the person. They would have found somebody to blame.
Clearly we can tell that our crime fighting skills were horrible.
I don't think so. I genuinely think that like Kenya's one of those places where if they want to find you, they will find you.
Yes.
They just don't want
By
to
the
find
way,
you.
let me not lie to you. What we hear in political science when you're learning is that Kenya's what are they called?
I don't know. Secret
Those people-
Service, intelligence.
Intelligence community is one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
The question is just what they act on. So there are people like Moi would have known a lot of these secrets.
Like, yeah.
Because he's been told. Kanyotu would have known all of these secrets. One day you should do Kanyotu. You'll never find anything on him, but you
That's
should
the
try.
problem. Like it's one of the reasons why, like, one of the few things I respect about the United States, and this was not something the government would have liked, this was something that was imposed upon it by the people, that, like, the CIA kind of has to declassify shit every 50 years or so.
It's beautiful.
Which means that we find out, like, it's too late for us to do anything about it, but we now know that the CIA was involved in a lot of fucked up shit in the 60s, 70s, 50s, 80s, 90s. We all know this.
Why can't
and
that,
we can prove it.
Why can that legislator that we all hate and love at the same time, what's his name? Omtata. You see exactly when I said we all love and hate at the same time, you were like, I know exactly. Why can't he take them to court and say, by the way, we should start a legislation where every 50 years NIS declassifies its material?
Plus, they have so much they're sitting on. Wouldn't it just be fun? I think you even suggested this the first time we did a assassination episode. Like Ruto, if you really wanted to fuck shit up, release information selectively, but release as much of the truth as you can afford to. And you let, like, whatever happens. You're done.
Release the truth as long as you can manipulate it.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah, and all he has to do is hire good propagandists, and they are there.
Yes, they're there.
They are there.
They're there. Yes, they're there. And on that note, thank you so much for listening to part 1. We will try to tamper down on the banter for part 2, but no promises. No promises.
I don't promise you.
Wow, shion.
Shion.
And goodbye. See you in, I don't know, a week or so maybe.
Whatever you decide.
Yeah.
You got too much power.
Isn't it wonderful? And apparently, because the internet likes cat content, this is one cat. That's my cat. His name is Garfield. And then here is the princess at Spotify. Hi, princess. All she does is sleep all day. Yes, you do. And then that one is the mommy. Her name is Loki. Hi. Are you just gonna ignore me? You gonna ignore the camera? I mean, you've been ignoring me all day, so I really don't know what's new, man. I know, it's very rude for her to ignore us, isn't it? Thank you so much for listening to the Utajuo Hujuri podcast. I really appreciate you giving me your time of day. I know that your time is very valuable. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram at utajuahujuri.pod. That is at utajuahujui.pod on Instagram. Please don't forget to like, share, review, do all the nice things. I could really use the boost. Okay, enjoy the rest of your time on this planet.